Welcome to the Sports Bros Podcast, featuring the Almighty B-Live, the Money Man, Scottie D, and your host, the head of creative, Eddy Kool. And without any further ado, here they are, the Sports Bros. Hey, what's going on, world? This be your boy Eddy Kool, aka the HOC, the head of creative here at the Sports Bros Podcast. And guess what? This is episode 63 of the said Sports Bros Podcast. Well, of course, I usually have two co-hosts with me. But this week, the Almighty B-Live, he's making that paper, he's slanging that brisket, that barbecue, that 109 bottles of beer on the wall at Max Beach. I'm gonna introduce y'all Scottie D, and he gonna help me out with this. The Money Man, Scottie D.
Yes, sir. I might as well use it since B-Live is not here, man. They working him to be death up there in Fayetteville, North Carolina, Church Road, whatever B-Live says where he's working. So this. We're going to go without him this week. It's going to be kind of like Sports Bros All-Star team, I guess. You know, we appreciate B-Live. He's very good.
He's good.
This is like the All-Star team this week. That's all. We'll just look at it that way.
Oh, boy, Scottie D. You got heat, my brother. You got heat. You wait till he hears that. Wait till he hears that.
It'd be like the Jackson 5 when they perform. If they would just say, all right, we're going to give Tito the night off, and the rest of them go on. It's kind of like that.
Oh man,
there was a Tito, right?
Huh?
There was a Tito, right?
Yeah, there is a Tito.
Yeah.
As the line goes in the Jackson 5 saga movie, Tito, go outside, get a switch. Yeah, Joe Jackson said that. But enough about the Jackson 5 and the Fab 5 and the Furious 5. Let's go ahead and get into this here podcast, shall we? Scottie D is crazy out there in the world. As you mentioned on your personal Facebook post, the place where you call home and my birthplace, Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, is Corona Mania 2020. That's a spectacle you do not want to go to. A few of our favorite establishments have been temporarily shut down due to a positive test of coronavirus. And with that being said, we're going to go into our first topic. Ravens coach John Harbaugh calls the NFL coronavirus guidelines humanly impossible. Now, Scottie D, we chopped it up a little bit earlier today about this particular subject. And can you give our listeners a briefing of what's going on?
Well, you know, as early as Monday afternoon, the news were coming down that Ezekiel Elliott of my favorite football team, the Dallas Cowboys, among other Cowboys and other Houston Texans, have come down with the coronavirus. And that going hand in hand with what Coach Harbaugh said last week, it's really got me questioning how the NFL is going to pull this off. I'm wondering if this Zeke thing could be like the NFL's Rudy Gobert moment where they're going to have to really take a look at this. I mean, training camps are just around the corner, man. It's mid-June. Mm-hmm. And, you know, typically preseason starts in August, or Hall of Fame games right at the beginning of August. That means there's only about 6 weeks in between to try to figure out how to get these players in shape and ready for the regular season. But from what Harbaugh says is the guidelines they received, you know, they're asking them to do this, the spacing and all that stuff and probably the disinfecting and all that stuff. He says it's going to be humanly impossible to do that based on the fact that you got a 53-man roster when the season starts, plus however many coaches. Guys are going to be on top of each other in a huddle, in the weight room, in the locker room. Harbaugh just doesn't see how this is going to be doable. And now that you got these players that are testing positive for it, you know, you're wiping out your mini camps. I don't know, Eddy Kool. I'm starting to feel like, is it realistic to believe that the NFL season is going to go off on time, even without fans in the stands? I don't know, man. I think this is a serious thing to watch here in the next few weeks. Just Harbaugh being the first to come out and say something like that, and being a head coach, you got to believe he's talked to other head coaches that are in the, you know, having the same type of feelings as he is.
Oh, no doubt, man. Yeah, the conversations have been had, and as Jim Harbaugh stated in his interview with 107.5 The Fan, I'm sorry, 105.7 The Fan, correction. He said, I've seen all the memos on that, and to be quite honest with you, it's impossible that what they're asking us to do. Humanly impossible, he said. He also said, I'm pretty sure the huddle is not going to be 6 foot spaced. Are guys going to shower all at one time, all at once during the at one time all day? Are guys going to lift weights at one time all day? There are things the league and the players associations need to get a handle on, and needs to agree with some common sense so we can operate our 13-hour a day training camp that they're giving us and get our work done. The one thing you can tell by my voice, I'm a little frustrated with what I'm hearing there, and I think they need that pinned down a little bit better. So yeah, clearly, man, Coach Harbaugh is a little peeved, if you will, and I fully get it. Just like you said, Scottie D, you know, training camp, you got to tackle. That's one of the main things of football. One of the main maneuvers. You got to tackle somebody. You got to hit somebody. You got to bring them to the ground. And so, I mean, what is this like? We going to play flag football or two-hand touch or I don't know, man. It's weird. Just like you said, man. As far as from a training standpoint, how are they going to learn to run the plays? Because they got to be in a huddle, and football is a communication sport. I mean, what are they going to do? Like muffle through a mouthpiece, and I mean, muffle through like one of those face masks, that everybody else is wearing. I don't know, man. I don't know. It just seems real. It poses coronavirus poses a real threat to the NFL season because
Yeah,
not only does Zeke have it, but there's also members of the Cowboys and the Houston Texans that have tested positive for COVID-19.
yeah. I'm not confident that the season's going to start on time. I just don't see how it's going to be possible. You know what they're going to do is like some of the other leagues are talking is implement a lot of testing, but when you're like, let's just look at the NBA. They're talking about keeping them all in one place and testing, and you got a roster of what 12 to 15 guys in the NBA. Well, you have more than double that on one side of the NFL field, not counting coaches and other officials that are within the organization. I I don't see how it's possible because let's just say you're doing the game plan, and I don't know, are they going to test on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday? You mean to tell me you're going to test 53 guys? Say 5 of them turn up positive, then all of a sudden you have to scrap your game plan. If it's your whole offensive line, what if the virus gets attached to one lineman and they're in their meeting rooms and the whole line gets it? Now you're going to have a whole section of your team that goes down. I just don't know how they're going to be able to pull this off. I mean, I think when we had the draft back in April, we were all fired up because, like, yeah, the NFL is giving us the draft and they're planning on doing things on time, and that's several months away, and we'll get this figured out by then. But as we're getting closer to training camp, I just don't think that we're going to figure it out. I mean, you mentioned it already. Look at Myrtle Beach; we're already having a big flare up in Myrtle Beach already. Seems like some of the northern states have flared up and are already starting to the curve has been flattened already, but that's not the case with every state. I mean, some of these states, Florida, North Carolina, South Carolina, there's a lot of football to be played down in those sections of the country. I don't know, man. I just don't see how I don't see how we're going to get this season launched in time. I just really don't.
Yeah, and as you said, training camps are scheduled to begin in July, and the said preseason game between Scottie D's Dallas Cowboys versus the Pittsburgh Steelers as a Hall of Fame game, August 6th, right here in good old Canton, Ohio. Huh. I'm like you, man. I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. And Harbaugh also added, he said, I think good people, smart people are involved in this. But the way I'm reading these memos right now, you throw your hands up and go, what the heck, man? There's no way this can be right. Because I'm telling you, Scotty, I'm telling you, it goes a little something like this. How the virus spreads is either two ways, symptomatic or asymptomatic. And if you asymptomatic, you show no signs, no trace, no nothing. But when you're symptomatic, you experience such things that, like the newest ones, is fever, new loss of taste, new loss of smell. that's like on the minor side of things. But then if you have like pre-existing conditions, it'll break it down and put you in the hospital. Next thing you know, you're on a respirator, and after that, it does damages. Because I've read some cases where people that have recovered, they've developed, they've developed, COPD and other,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, other debilitating, um, lung issues. And all I could, and the thing about it is, like, a lot of people that is out here, and I get it. You've been in the house, you're going stir crazy, and I also get it. You can't keep shutting the economy down. I understand it, but there comes to a point where we got to be like, you know what? We got to be smart. We got to be smart. We got to use some sense. We got to be like, you know what? Just like, hey, like for me right now, the only place I'm going, home, work, grocery store, and back to the house. Ain't no kicking it with no friends and co-workers. Ain't no traveling out of town. Ain't no large gatherings. I'm staying my behind home, man, because this coronavirus ain't no joke. In the words of Carter V, coronavirus, it is real. She ain't lying about that.
Oh,
Yeah, it's just something you just.
I'm sick of it. I mean, I really am. I'm sick of it. But it looks like we're not going to have anything as far as a vaccination before the end of the year. So, that's going to pretty much football. NFL is going to have to make a decision. I know they have the schedule set up. They're going to have to do some serious provision because it just to me right now sounds like it's a long way away. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see, man. We'll see, man. We just hope Zeke and everybody that's affected by coronavirus gets well soon, come back to life, back to reality. And those of you out there, please be safe. People like, don't wear no mask because, hey, look, you got to do what you got to do to protect yourself and to make sure that you can good and live to see another day. Of course, we all want to see another birthday. We all want to see another Christmas. We all want to see,
Another Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl, of course.
Oh Lord Jesus, we want to, we just want some sense of normality, man. And we're at the rate this coronavirus is sweeping across the country. In the words of a professional wrestler, what you gonna do when Ronomania runs wild over you? Hopefully, survive it. Moving right along, we're gonna talk about a person that is a penalty box alumni. No, Scottie D, we're not talking about Clint Hurdle, but we're talking about AB. Antonio Brown.
Oh, he's back.
Oh, he's back. But guess what? He's not doing nothing dumb. I've been watching some of Antonio Brown's Instagram posts, and he's been being busy, working out at home. I mean, he got 2 years probation after pleading no contest to a January burglary with a battery charge. So hey, that's 2 years probation, which means you got 2 years to sit your butt down and stay out of trouble. It's also been reported he's been working out with Deion Sanders and Tom Brady, and also Deion Sanders' son. And he's also, we had a conversation again earlier, and he's also been working out with Lamar Jackson and Antonio Brown's cousin, Marquise Hollywood Brown. So the question goes, Scottie D, you think AB can turn it around? And if so, what do you think he will land?
Well, it seems like the obvious spot would be with the Ravens, given what we're saying that Lamar Jackson seemed to be in favor of him. His cousin's there, so you have that sense of familiarity. And it seems like Harbaugh might be the kind of coach that would be open to that. He still has to get cleared by the league, though. And, this is something that, in my opinion, should have been done a long time ago. We talked about this actually a long time ago and said the league needs to announce what they're going to do with this guy as far as suspensions or whatever, and letting him get back into the league. That's another one of those heavy-handed Goodell decisions. Now, I'm not in favor of signing Antonio Brown to my team. Like if he were to come to my team, the Cowboys are loaded receivers. So I'm not specifically talking about them. I'm just kind of throwing out a generalization that, as a football fan, I don't think I would want him on my team. Now, maybe having said that, this past year humbled him a little bit. He didn't get that week-to-week spotlight that he so desires. He didn't get to shine. He didn't get the paychecks. He got himself into more trouble. But seems like he's been kind of quiet as of late as far as doing anything stupid. It's just he has a track record of it. Having said that, if he was back in the NFL tomorrow, he'd be among the probably top 2 or 3 wide receivers in the league. So The talent is there. He still has a lot of tread on the tire. I wouldn't want him on my team at this juncture, but it seems like he could be a fit in Baltimore. The Ravens showed last year they were an explosive team and a legit contender. So we'll see. Like I said, I could see Harbaugh taking flyer on him.
Yeah, because I think the only wide receivers I know on the Ravens roster right now is Hollywood Brown, Willie Snead, I think Seth Roberts, and then it's pick a wide receiver after that. I don't know who's I couldn't tell you. I could not tell you the whole wide receiver core, but I think he would definitely be a boost to an already potent offense, as you mentioned earlier, because they don't have that true number one. They don't have that true number one. With Antonio Brown being a true number one, he still got some, tread on the tire. And then his cousin, Marquise Hollywood Brown, he's got speed too. And then, you put Willie Snead in the slot, he could be a third down possession receiver. Then you might have something there. You might have something there. So, and then you have.
There's no doubt that guy has endless talent. It just seemed like over the past couple years it went to his head because you didn't hear a whole lot about him in the early stage of his career. It sort of developed over the years to, one thing and then another thing, and then a fight with Big Ben, and then a phone in the locker room. And, it just kind of seemed like it just kept building and building and building. Like it became more and more with this guy as the years went on. But if he can just say, hey, I'm going to dedicate myself to playing some football and doing what I can and not, stiffing people out of money left and right on large scales and get food and all that stuff. Just go be a good guy. Just do better, and then go play football. I think he still has a lot to offer a team.
I won't be surprised if Brady makes a push.
Well, the thing with Brady though, Eddie, is that I think is, Brady picked the one head coach that's kind of like a no nonsense kind of guy, and I don't think Bruce Arians would cop to sign Antonio Brown, even if it is Brady asking him. I just don't. I think he already got his wish. He got Gronk, so I think there's enough talent in Tampa Bay where they don't need him, and I think Bruce Arians is one of those no nonsense guys. And he may have weren't they together in Pittsburgh at one point?
Who, Bruce Arians and
wasn't he coaching in Pittsburgh early in Antonio Brown's career? I kind of feel like he was.
I don't remember. I remember Todd Haley being there.
Yeah, I thought Arians may have been in there too at one point, but we'll look that up and update y'all later on that. How about that?
I think you might be right. Matter of fact, Sports Bros Nation, if you're listening, let us know. Was Bruce Arians on the Steelers roster during Antonio Brown's tenure? We don't claim to be professionals, but we kind of sound like we talking about. But we're a little stumped on this one. But we will make it through as we usually do right here on the Sports Bros podcast. I think this gives Antonio Brown a chance to straighten up and fly right, because here it is, Scottie D, as we mentioned earlier, the NFL season with this year, with Zeke getting corona, the Texans and the Cowboys getting corona, and these guidelines that Jim Harbaugh brought up, it kind of puts the season in limbo, and you don't really know what you're going to get. So with Antonio Brown thinking, hey, if all I got to do is, do this, do that, do this, do that, and I'm probably going to have a job week one, as of right now, it's up in the air. The NFL season is scheduled to start on time, but with these revelations about coronavirus, is a little different, which means Antonio Brown might have a little bit more time to think, because Scottie D, I think, there's no Canadian Football League season this year as well either.
Right.
None. So it's just, So it's just something that Antonio Brown just has to take this time to reflect and get himself together. I think we had a conversation once again earlier. I mean, yes, he's done a lot of this to himself, but like, what about your friends? What about your friends? Like, look, man, this is not good for you to do. Like, I think that Antonio Brown needs friends that aren't yes men. They'll be like, hey, man, you need to hold yourself accountable. Yes, you do this. No, you don't do that. And having friends that hold you accountable is very important. especially when you're an athlete of his caliber, making the money that he makes. He's marketable. He's a personality. He has that bravado. So you have to kind of be careful with how you move around because you're a star athlete. If I do something dumb, no one will talk about it because I haven't reached that level yet. But Antonio Brown, Central Michigan, people know you went to college. People know the teams you played for. You got to move a little bit differently, as the kids say. Yep, you got to move a little bit differently, as the kids say. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it for the happenings in the NFL. In the NBA, we don't know what's going on. We think they may have a season until Kyrie Irving spoke out and said, nah, I think we need to focus on other things besides basketball. And I get it. I understand it. In Major League Baseball, Rob Manfred, Scottie D, he just might have his spot in the Sports Bros podcast penalty box.
Manfred, I think Manfred's a knucklehead on many levels, but this whole thing with baseball, I think he's dying because he wants to get baseball back on the field, not just take attention away from himself, but that's his sport, man. You gotta get on the field, and he's saying he's not sure now. A week ago, definitely there's going to be baseball. A week later, I don't know if there's going to be baseball in 2020. These guys just they can't figure it out. They can't they're so far apart, and it's just been typical of baseball through the years. They just can't figure it out. They can't agree on money, and that's what a shame. What an absolute shame. I feel like I should be finishing up this podcast with you and going and putting on a ball game, Eddy Kool. It's terrible. They can't figure it out.
They can't figure it out, man. It's just the fact that you have to, it's a bunch of people trying to figure out how to spend a bunch of money. So how are we going to do this? And the Players Association says yes. The owners say no. And then the owners say yes, and the Players Association say no. It's just a back and forth. Who can a blinking contest? Who's going to blink first? It's a staring contest. It's like, what the hell is going on? We want sports. We need sports. There's a sports pod. Look, for example, the choices of the voices from last week. We talked about freaking cereal. All right.
And what a great conversation it was, though.
It was a great conversation, man. We talked about cereal, and we found out that America loves cereal, and I don't remember if B-Live gave us his answer, if he was a cereal first guy or a milk first guy.
He said he was a milk first guy, or cereal in the bowl and then the milk. He did say we slighted him last week, and I tagged him as a milk then cereal guy. He says no, but I tagged myself as pretty much a non-cereal guy.
Yeah, you hadn't had cereal about like 13 years, you say.
Yeah, I had a 13-year cereal drought.
But Scottie D, a little birdie told me in South Carolina they sell my favorite cereal, the Rice Krispie Treat cereal. So I'm thinking, I got to somehow, some way figure out how to get my hands on that Rice Krispie Treat cereal. It's good. It's great. It's great. And speaking of good, speaking of great, it's about that time to move along. Hey, yo, Button, hit it.
And now, our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices.
Once again, thank you to the wonderful and lovely Miss Button for providing us the intro to our favorite part of the show, the choices of the voices. You heard the woman. You know she ain't lying. 63 episodes in, and Scottie D and myself and our co-host, the Almighty B Live, who they're working the brakes off of at Max Speed Shop, 4907 East McPherson Church. Anyways, they're working our boy to death, but this is our favorite part of the show. This is what the Sports Bros podcast is all about. It's a podcast by the fans for the fans. Three guys doing one thing, talk about sports the way we want to talk about it, okay? And Scottie D, what's the question for this week's Choices of the Voices?
The question, what athlete did you most hate to see leave your favorite team in any sport? And did you root for or against that athlete going forward? And again, we were talking last week. Some of these guys that you love, they get traded. Some leave over free agency. Some leave peacefully. Some leave under turmoil. But if you love them, you love them. Sometimes you're going to turn on them. Sometimes you're going to hate the way they left town, and you might be mad at them. So this is your chance to tell us, what athlete did you most hate seeing at what in another uniform? Who did you hate to see go and play for the enemy or play for another team? And we did have a couple really nice answers here, Eddie, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, sir. We got some good ones. Good ones. So let's get this party started. Uncle Max, what's going on, Uncle Max, man? How you doing, man? Take care of yourself, man. Take care of yourself. Uncle Max said, I rooted for Brett Favre when he left the Packers. I rooted for him in the NFC Championship game against the Saints. Boy, did that end up being a controversial game. You remember that, Scotty? Target Gate. You know, they were headhunting Brett Favre during that NFC Championship game.
How far back he had a chance to go to the Super Bowl and threw a really ill-fated pick late in that game instead of having a chance to kick a field goal and go to the Super Bowl. Favre tried to force one in, threw a across-the-field pass. Saints picked him. But you know what was even weirder than that to me, Eddy Kool, was seeing him in that Jets uniform for that season.
Ugh.
You know, Favre was like Mr. Packer for all those years. You know, he had that streak going and never missed any games. Seeing him in the Jets uniform was weird to me. You know, I guess maybe when he got to the Vikings, it didn't seem as weird because I'd already seen him in another uniform and started his career with the Falcons. But nobody pictures Brett Favre in their mind as a Falcons uniform. You picture him as a Packer, and that just seemed weird to me, seeing him with the Jets. And that was a forgettable season. He had better years with the Vikings, but that first Jet season, that was forgettable.
Yeah, man. Seeing Brett wearing that green of the Vikings, I'm like, nah. I mean, that green of the Jets. I was like, nah, Chief, this ain't it. It was just, and didn't he get into some trouble while he was there too?
Yeah,
you know what I'm talking about, right?
Picks or something silly like that. I don't know. It was his shining season, though, for sure.
Yeah. That season ended before it started. Moving right along, we have Monique Adams. She said, I hated to see Glenn Rice leave the Hornets. Oh, he was one of my favorite players. I used to love some Glenn Rice. When he became a Laker, I was no longer a fan. She said, I don't want nothing to do with you, Glenn Rice.
I'm a Laker fan. I liked him there.
Yeah, I mean, I like them too, man. I remember when he played for Miami for the Heat, and then to the Hornets. I was like, yeah, he played for the Hornets, and then I understand, man. You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. So, Scottie D, you said you liked him when he played for the Lakers.
As a Laker fan, I'd like to have him Glenn Rice on the team. He stretched the court out. You know, he opened it up a little bit more for Shaq. You know, the game back at that point wasn't like it is now, where everybody's throwing up threes. You had a lot more post play, and that opened things up for Shaq. You know, that gave the Lakers that legit 3-point threat, and it worked. He got himself some championships out of that.
Yeah, he did. How come people don't talk about Glenn Rice more often, man?
I don't know, because he was really, really good. I remember he had some kind of, didn't he have like a big game with, I think when he was with Miami, where he went for like 60 points or something like that, 50
yeah,
points.
He torched somebody. I don't remember. He torched somebody.
Yeah, it was like a Steph Curry type of game where he was just raining threes or something like that. But yeah, he was legit, man. He was a legit ball player, man. He could shoot.
He could shoot, man. Number 41, Glenn Rice. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, went to the University of Michigan, if I'm not mistaken.
I believe so.
Yep. Let's see. All right. Next up, we got JR. JR said Joe Montana leaving the 49ers, going to Kansas City, and Donovan McNabb leaving the Eagles, going to the Redskins. But you know what? He said, hey, these my dudes. I'm pulling for both of
them. McNabb in the Redskins uniform. That was another one that's kind of hard to look at. You know, you still in your mind, you say Don McNabb. You immediately picture him in the green. And Joe Montana, man, he actually had a couple good years there at the end of his career with Kansas City. You know, these guys who were like these Hall of Famers with one team, it's hard to see them in another uniform. Just like I was talking last week about Emmitt Smith. You know, it's not right he played his last years with Arizona. He should have been a Cowboy his whole career. You know, I didn't love that when he left the Cowboys to go to Arizona. At that point, the Cowboys and Cardinals were both sort of irrelevant. They were both pretty lousy at the time, so it wasn't a whole lot of rooting going on for either him or the Cowboys at that time. It was kind of weird, but yeah, that happens to a lot of NFL players where these guys who are superstars with their teams and end up on another team to their last 1 or 2 years. It's very strange to see some of these guys in other uniforms.
Yeah, because didn't Roger Maris end his career with the St. Louis Cardinals? If I'm not mistaken, I think he
went there after the Yankees, I believe. I'm not sure if he ended his career there, but you could be right. He moved on from the Yankees to the Cardinals.
Yeah, just like I saw Roger Maris in that St. Louis hat, I was like, this ain't it, Chief. This ain't it. Moving right along, we got Martin Tracy. He said there have been a few through the years. I'm going to give you 2 that were devastating for me. He said playing little league coaches put me at the catcher. My favorite player was Carlton Fisk. When he was traded to the White Sox, I was devastated. As a tribute, I also changed my number from 27 to 72. Just like that, I was a Red and White Sox fan. So we got a Red Sox on one foot and a White Sox on the other. Gotcha. Many years later, I'm now playing high school ball and skipping to catch a few games at Fenway with my boys to see my new favorite player, Roger Clemens. And again, I was yet devastated. I knew they were so long to trade him. Then he goes on to win a Cy Young, win back-to-back Cy Young awards for Toronto, and then 2 more with the Yankees. And if you know baseball, Boston fans hate the Yankees with a passion. So you can imagine the stuff I took wearing the Yankees cap, only when Roger Clemens pitched for them, and that was my protest. Yeah, so yeah, Matty Ice, he was hot that Carlton Fisk and Roger Clemens left Boston.
Yeah. And thank you, Matty Ice, because he's the one that kind of gave me the idea for this question this week. So I appreciate that. Yeah, I'm on the opposite side of that Yankee Red Sox rivalry with him, but it's always tough to swallow when one of these guys change teams, go from one to the other. I mean, how bad Red Sox fans must have hated it to see Johnny Damon win a World Series wearing pinstripes, especially with no hair, no beard.
I was just about to say that. I'm like, I wonder how they felt watching Johnny Damon going from one side to the other. Like, wow.
And David Wells was such a big part of the Yankees that 2000, 2001 era. And he later went over and pitched for the Red Sox. And I know David Wells was like a huge Yankee fan when he was young, and he was a Babe Ruth fan, and he just loved being a Yankee. And actually, he was one that was traded to Toronto for the Yankees to acquire Roger Clemens. And I know he hated that, and that made him mad. He ended up with the Red Sox. There's been several cases through the years of Yankees Red Sox players going from one team to the other, and it's always tough to swallow when you see them in that other uniform. That's a toughie for sure.
Yeah, it is. Like, what are you doing here? It's just that's the Yankees Red Sox rivalry, man. It's just, you're dealing with the enemy. What is this? I mean, I used to live, I used to live in New Hampshire, man. I know what it is all about. But the family I knew, they were a Yankees fan, but everybody else was about their Red Sox. So I understand completely. All right, we got Rodney. What's up, Rodney? It was good seeing you that time. I was in the Carolinas. He said, great question. He said, I've been lucky. 2 of my favorite athletes, Dan Marino and Tim Duncan, they both played with one team their whole career. But to answer your question, seeing Jason Taylor put on that New York Jet gang green was pretty nauseating.
Yeah, I can get that. I completely understand him on that. Jason Taylor's another one of those guys who, his name doesn't always come up among great defensive players, but he really was one. Maybe because the Dolphins during his era weren't winning a ton of postseason games. But Jason Taylor definitely was. He was a stud. I mean, he was legit, real deal, Hall of Fame caliber player, and he looked a little weird when he had that Jets uniform on. I think, if I'm not mistaken, yeah, he did. He went back to Miami. He had a season with the Redskins and back to Miami, then a season with the Jets, and then back to Miami. So he was with Miami all told for 13 years, but that one season with the Jets, I can see how that'd be hard to swallow.
Yeah, it's just if you ask me, word association, Jason Taylor, Miami Dolphins. Those other teams, no, no. He's Mr. Miami Dolphin in my eyes.
Honestly, I had long forgotten that he had been a Redskin. I remember him being with the Jets, obviously, but I have no recollection of him in a Redskin uniform, to be honest with you.
There ain't no way in the world. Sean Massagill said Frank Gore. He says he's going to retire a 49er via a one-day contract, I'm guessing, but kind of sucks to see him bounce from team to team to team this late in his career. Hey, man, I think Frank Gore trying to get that rushing, that all-time rushing record, if you ask me.
It's an uphill battle, but he's up in the rarefied air. Where's he at on the all-time list? In the top 4 or 5 at this point, right?
Yeah, it's like who's number one?
Emmett Smith.
Yes, Emmett Smith. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart. I'm human. I'm allowed to err. It's Emmett Smith, and then Walter Payton, and then there's one more guy too, Adrian Peterson.
Barry Sanders.
Yeah, Barry Sanders, and then boom, there's Frank Gore.
Gore's 3.
Huh?
Frank Gore's 3. Actually, he passed Barry Sanders.
Yeah, that's right. Frank Gore's 3. So think about it, last year, we had 2 top 10 rushers still actively playing, as far as Adrian Peterson and Frank Gore go. You don't really get a chance to see that.
Yeah, that's true. He has 15,347 yards. Emmett has 18,355. So he's just about 3,000 yards behind him. So I don't know if he's got 3 more seasons of 1,000-yard rushing in him. I mean, it seems like it's a stretch for him to be able to catch Emmett. He's 1,000 yards, a little bit, about 1,400 yards behind Walter Payton. I don't even know if he'll get there. But Frank Gore is another guy like Jason Taylor. You just don't. He doesn't come to the top of your mind as one of the greats, all-time greats, and there he is. He's number 3, all-time leading rusher. Could be part of that West Coast thing where you don't see, East Coast gets a lot more publicity, it seems like, than West Coast players do. I don't know. Frank Gore just doesn't seem to have the publicity or the shine that Walter Payton, Barry Sanders, or Emmett had, But I mean, he's there, man. He's right there at the top of the list. He's awesome Hall of Famer right there. So we'll see. I don't know what his future holds. Is he done? He might be done. I don't know. Everybody might be done this season.
Yeah, everybody's done as
Pirates wipes things out. I mean, there's probably going to be some guys that aren't going to come back, but we'll, again, I'm getting ahead of ourselves with all that. But Frank Gore, absolutely, I can understand if you're a 49er fan, seeing him go to another team and bounce around can't be that easy at this point.
No, because you got young guys, you got young bucks wanting that RB1, that first spot. So it'll be a challenge. Corey Loggerin, he posted a picture of Cam Newton, Greg Olsen, Luke Kuechly, Julius Peppers, Ryan Khalil, and Thomas Davis. If I'm not mistaken, that was the Panthers' recent Super Bowl team. And the only person left on there is nobody. The whole team is gone. There's no Cam, there's no Greg, there's no Lou, there's no Julius because he retired. Ryan Khalil left, came back and played the season for the Jets. And Thomas Davis is now a member of the Washington Redskins. Corey, I feel your pain. And I'm pretty sure our co-host, the Almighty B-Live, feels your pain as well, too. It's like they took a stick of dynamite and blew the whole team up. Hell, he should have put a picture of Ron Rivera. Hell, he's not there no more. So,
yep.
Yep. So that's what we got going on with that. So, Corey, I feel your pain. Mike Canoa, what's going on, buddy? He said Michael Jordan. He said he should retire the Bull. He said, and with that being said, as a Pats fan, he said I'll be rooting for Tom Brady and Gronk to take the NFC this year. So he says, you know what, my boy's gone, but I'm still riding with him. And Mike Cano, I hope you get the good-looking Tampa Bay jerseys, not this mess they've been trying to push on us for the past, couple seasons. Those jerseys are ugly.
Well,
but ugly. They are ugly. You couldn't.
I will say this about his response too is, most people are not Bulls fans, but are Michael Jordan fans. It's just, you just got to block out that Wizards thing. You just can't picture him in a Wizards uniform. That just shouldn't have happened.
Yeah, I don't know what it was. What he was like 38, averaging what 20 points a game or some mess like that.
Something that's actually pretty good, but just wasn't Michael Jordan.
I'm over like, this dude 38 years old. He throwing up 20 points a game. I'm like, man, it's like Darryl Green, who played till he was like 72.
Yeah.
But they said that joke was fast. But I digress. I'm going to put the train back on the tracks. I got to write this time. Craig Burns, what's going on, man? As a lifelong Boston sports fans, I get annoyed when a player I like gets traded or leaves via free agency, and I never rooted for that player again. As a matter of fact, I now root against them. My allegiance runs deep with the laundry, I guess. I'm still annoyed that the Red Sox traded Brady Anderson and Kurt Schilling for Mike Boddicker back in 1988.
Yeah, that didn't work out so well. But I think I actually mentioned this last week when Ray Bork won the Stanley Cup with Colorado, that I thought a lot of Boston people were really happy about that. We're really happy for Bork because he was on a lot of teams that were not able to get that done in Boston. But Boston fans are very, very passionate fans, very hardcore fans. So I can imagine once you grow any kind of feelings for these guys, it's hard. It's hard to see them leave. I mean, I'm like that with all my teams, but Boston's so tight knit up there with that stuff. So I can see that.
Yeah, I understand that too. Danny Woodson said anyone that graduated from the Ohio State University and ended up a Cowboy.
And with that, he goes right to the penalty box.
He said, breaks my heart. Shout out to Danny for that one.
Right to the penalty box with you, buddy.
Oh, man. Yeah, that was a good one. Anyone graduated from Ohio State and ended up a Cowboy. He's a Steelers fan. Die-hard Steelers fan at that.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to tell you, it broke my heart when Bobby Carpenter went to the Cowboys because didn't work out too good having Bobby Carpenter there. The Zeke thing, not so bad. Bobby Carpenter, no good.
He was a linebacker, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, that didn't last.
He's actually a pretty good analyst. I hear him on TV sometimes now, but when the Cowboys drafted Bobby Carpenter, I said, that's pretty cool. We needed a linebacker. And that dude just got torched all over the field. He didn't pan out. So there's one that I was disappointed in. But penalty box for you, sir.
Hey, man, those Buckeye boys are pretty good, man. Pretty good. The Carolina had one, Chris Gamble. Yeah, Chris Gamble. I think they heard Kurt Coleman. The Panthers had a bunch of guys from Ohio State on there for a long duration of time. Our co-host, the almighty B-Live, says when Julius Peppers left the Carolina Panthers and went to the Bears, he said he had a Panthers Julius Peppers jersey. He said, that's why I have a personalized jersey because I will never leave the team. B-Live, I did feel some kind of way when Julius Peppers left, but then again, I didn't understand the dynamics of people wanting their money. I said, oh, he's been franchise tagged. Well, he'll hang around for a little bit. And I read about the franchise tag was about like, oh, okay, he'll make $16 million this season. That's $1 million a game. I'm over there doing the math, trying to sound smart. But at the time, man, Carolina was in shambles. A handful of years removed from their Super Bowl appearance where they lost to the Patriots, Super Bowl 38. And then you had Jake Delhomme, who had a noodle arm. It fell apart. Steve Smith was still there. And then we still had D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart, if I'm not mistaken, just trying to make the most of a situation, but no, it's time to go.
Yeah.
Yep. And so from the looks of that, Scottie D, that is everybody. And with that being said, Scottie D, who did you have resentment towards for leaving? Did you stick with them, or did you say the hell with
you? I have a very, very short list here of guys that left that I really hated to see go. I already mentioned Emmett. A lot of people don't remember, but Tony Dorsett played his last season in Denver. I did not like seeing him in a Broncos uniform. When Shaq left the Lakers and went to Miami, the Lakers were pretty lousy, and I didn't like seeing Shaq leave. I was always a Kobe fan too, but how can you not root for Shaq? So when Shaq left, I was pulling for the Heat to win that title, which he did get with them. I'm going to definitely hate seeing Jason Witten wearing a Raiders uniform next year.
I forgot all about that.
Yeah. That's going to be a tough one. But I think out of all the ones, for me personally, it's hard if you know that if you're a Pittsburgh Pirate fan and you have a really good player, at some point you're going to have to understand he's going to play for someone else.
Mm-hmm.
And that happened with Andrew McCutchen a few years ago when he left to go for the, he went to the Giants. Pirates actually traded him. And then he ended up with the Yankees in the playoffs, and I rooted for McCutchen. You can't root against Andrew McCutchen. I always wish him well. But for me, the toughest was when Barry Bonds left to go to play for San Francisco. Points. A lot of people at this point remember Barry Bonds more as the steroid jacked up home run hitter for the Giants, and they don't remember how good he was when he was with Pittsburgh. He was stealing bases. He was lean. He was fast. He was still hitting about 30 home runs a year for a few years there. Won a couple MVP awards. He left Pittsburgh, and we knew he was going to leave. We knew it, and he left right when on the worst day imaginable, when the Pirates lost that playoff game to the Braves, where Sid Bream, another guy who had been with Pittsburgh, comes around and scores the winning run for Atlanta. We've talked about that on the show. I told you before how heartbroken I was.
Mm-hmm.
That was on the very last play of the game. Francisco Cabrera of the Braves hits the ball to Bonds. He throws the ball home, and Bream is safe at the plate. And that was the last play Barry Bonds ever had as a Pittsburgh Pirate. And then the Pirates went on to have 20 consecutive seasons under 500. It was devastating. But we just, as Pittsburgh fans, we knew that when that season came to an end, pretty much no matter what happened, even if they won the World Series, they weren't going to be able to afford Bonds. Plus, Bonds had an affinity for San Francisco. He kind of always wanted to be out there. That's where his dad and Willie Mays had played. They were Giants. It just, I know they were in New York whenever Willie Mays was there for a time, but it was just, you just had a sense that Bonds was not going to be there anymore. And I rooted for him hard all the way through his career. He's, to this day, my favorite player to ever play the game. And so I always rooted for him, but there was always a piece of me that was sad that he wasn't a Pirate anymore, because he came up with the Pirates organization and came up just short of getting to the World Series. So that's my biggest heartbreak as far as losing a player that I really, really liked.
I felt that, Scottie D. I felt it all through my speakers, man, all through my headphones, man. I'm over trying to figure out how in the hell I'm going to follow it up. But I'm going to try.
Let's hear what you got.
All right, so when the question was posed, it didn't take long to think. As a Carolina Panthers fan, I was, as the kids say, feeling some kind of way. I was in my feelings when the Carolina Panthers let go all-time leading wide receiver, the face of the franchise, Steve Smith, wide receiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, when they let him go. Like, Steve Smith was a late-round pick out of Utah. He broke into the league as a special teamer, on special teams, as a kick returner, a punt returner. I think it's the first time he went to the Pro Bowl, but then after that, he was able to hone his craft and hone his skill and become one of the best wide receivers in the league. He did have one lone Super Bowl appearance. I think he still holds the record for, I don't know if it's him or Muhsin Muhammad, but somebody holds the record for the longest play from scrimmage in Super Bowl history. Nope, that's James.
Yeah, Muhammad had that catch.
Yeah, he had that catch. But, Steve Smith played an integral role in the early success of the Carolina Panthers in the early 2000s. And I guess it's got to a point to where there was a regime change. I think at that time, Marty Herney had left and Dave Gettleman came in, and it was like a complete overhaul. Like, the first person got to go is Steve Smith. And, his productivity over time, it was declining. I'm not going to lie. I mean, he would have a burst here, a burst there. One of my memorable Steve Smith moments, him and Aqib Talib, they stayed fighting. They got into it. And he told him, he said, hey, you better ice up, son. Yeah, he was one of the premier trash talkers in the league. And Steve Smith was 5'9", but he played like he was 6'5".
Yeah, he was a hard worker, man.
Yeah, he was a grinder, man.
Well-built guy, yeah.
Yeah, when you sit there and look at Steve Smith and you think about, the the blue collar mentality of the Carolina Panthers, you think about Steve Smith, and not to mention all what he's done for the city of Charlotte, but Steve Smith was that dude, and then they let him go, and he got picked up by the Ravens. And then there's the infamous blood and guts game, as to where he said, when I play Carolina, it's going to be blood and guts. And he delivered. And he's the kind of person where when he talks, he delivers. He's not just a bunch of lip service. I mean, Steve Smith was 5'9", like I said, and he walked it like he talked it, bring it like he's saying it, and played it however he wanted to do. Yeah, so it really broke my heart when they just kind of just threw Steve Smith like, get out of here. I mean, but I'm not gonna lie, man. When he was with the Ravens, man, I was really rooting for him, man, because I wanted him to, be in a better position to at least get to the playoffs and go to a Super Bowl and actually win one. But unfortunately, Steve Smith didn't win one. But he is forever in my heart as a Carolina Panther. Steve Smith. All right. So I said Steve Smith.
Eddie, I could feel that one through the speakers, brother.
Hey, man. I still have his I still have a T-shirt in here that I bought at Barefoot Atlantic. It has the number, his jersey number front, 89 and 89 on the back. And I'm so over here like, when we left the team, I was like, And guess what? I got a Jonathan Stewart jersey. Now I'm like, and I got a Cam Newton T-shirt. Now I'm like, I'm just gonna quit buying damn jerseys. How about that? This is ridiculous. I might pull a B Live. I might customize my own jerseys. That way, I'm not going nowhere. It's not gonna happen. So Scottie D said Barry Bonds. I said Steve Smith, and B Live said Julius Peppers. With that being said, we want to give a shout out to Uncle Max, Monique Adams, J.R., Martin Tracy, Rodney, Sean Massagill, Corey, Mike Cano, Craig Burns, Danny Wilson, and the Almighty Be Live for their participation in this week's Choices of the Voices section. Scottie D, what we got for next week's Choices of the Voices?
Well, this one's kind of skewed to the sport that we may not see, Major League Baseball, but what baseball team, or I should say, what baseball team's stadium or city would you like to visit and spend, say you have the chance to go out for the perfect weather weekend. It's a nice 75-degree weekend. What baseball stadium would you like to go visit that you have not been to before? Or what city would you just like to go see for a weekend of baseball? I did this a few years back. I went to Chicago. I had always wanted to go to Wrigley Field, and it was awesome. It was a great weekend. The Pirates were playing up there, and my buddy John Haynes and I went to visit my buddy Moses up there, and we had we went and saw a game on Friday and a game on Saturday, and it was lovely. It was wonderful. Like I said, I'd always wanted to see Wrigley because it's a historic place to, one of the oldest stadiums in Major League Baseball. A lot of history there. I just always want to see it. And I thought that was a really, really nice weekend. And there's several other stadiums I would still like to get to. So this is your chance to tell us if there's a baseball stadium, or like I say, even if you're not a big baseball fan, if you just like to go visit a city and see the stadium and be around there for a weekend, what would be your pick? Where would you like to go? And that is what we will talk about next week on the Choices of the Voices.
All right, that's it for Choice of the Voices. Let's see, which states have I been to baseball? I've been to Turner Field. I think second to the last year before they, closed it for some strange reason. It's still a nice stadium. And Progressive Field in Cleveland. I've been there. Yep, I've been to those two stadiums. So I got 2 down, 27 more to go.
Yeah, I'd like to see that Progressive. That's the old Jake, right? The old Jacobs.
Yep.
Yeah, I'd like to see that one too. But yeah, I definitely have not been to enough. There's a lot I'd like to get to, but going to be a tough to mark that off the bucket list this summer for sure.
Yeah, I've been thinking the same thing. I'm like, man, before it's all said and done, before I go to that big, stadium in the sky, I say to myself, I at least want to see half. I want to go to all the football stadiums, the pro football stadiums, and all the baseball stadiums as well too. I mean, arenas is okay, but it's something about a open air baseball stadium.
Absolutely.
Yeah, there's something about an open air baseball stadium. I've been to Ford Field in Detroit. I that's a beautiful place. Of course, I've been to Bank of America Stadium in Charlotte, and I've also been to First Energy Stadium in Cleveland when it was cold. You got to wear like 30 layers of clothes. I'm not lying to you, man. And I sat in the dog pound. And the thing about it is, when you go to a Browns game in the middle of December, you got to wear 6 pair of pants, 3 pair of socks, your sturdy boots, a hat up under that, a long job. Yeah, you don't. It's like this. Wear your damn clothes. That's all I got to say. Because
Hey, Eddy Kool, I tell you, buddy, I went to the Cowboys played in Cleveland opening day in 1991, and my dad and I got tickets, and we went up, and we had end zone seats on the opposite side of the old dog pound, where our backs were to Lake Erie, and it was cold, bro. It was cold, and it was September, like early September. And once we get out of the shadows into the sunshine, it wasn't too bad, but it was chill. I think it's cold in Cleveland, like even in July, isn't it? Isn't it always just cold there?
No, it ain't cold. It ain't cold. We had a few like 90-degree days already, and you don't use on since until August. But yeah, it's just the December, and I was over. I asked my friend, I was like, "How should I dress?" And he started laughing. I was like, "Yeah, I'm just going ahead and put all my damn clothes on, a winter coat, a hoodie, and everything." But before we go home, I want to give some new listener shout outs. I want to give a shout out to Monique Adams down there in South Carolina. Her favorite teams are the Atlanta Braves, the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Texas A&M Aggies, and the San Antonio Spurs. Brent Antonio out of Miami, Florida, and he's representing those Dolphins, those Miami Dolphins. And last but not least, we got Jeff Schill out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. He is a big-time fan of the Brewers and the Bucks in Milwaukee. I went to a Bucks game. I actually enjoyed myself. I really did. So shout out to Monique, Brent, and Jeff, and welcome to this little thing we got called the Sports Bros Podcast. All right. With that being said, moving right along. What was that, Scottie D?
I said thank you to them for being part of it.
Oh, yes. Scottie D said thank you for being a part of this experience known as the Sports Bros Podcast. Moving right along, Scottie D, it's time to take it to the house. We can take it to the house with a round of pepper. You know how we do it. 3 topics or 3 things, rapid fire style, kind of, sort of, not really. I'm going to continue my tradition of this day in history and sports, and Scottie D is going to find something in the sports to talk about. Hopefully, he ain't scraping at the bottom of the barrel, but hey, what are you going to do? We ain't got no live sports. We got some sports, but not all live sports, and I'll go first. This day in history, in 1984, Edwin Moses wins his 100th consecutive 400 meters hurdle race. That's a lot of running to win 100 consecutive straight. So yeah, Edwin Moses, 1984, doing his thing. I like his first name. I wonder why. Over to you, Scottie D.
Edwin Moses was a bad dude, man. That was a bad cat. That dude was just running and hurdling. It felt like forever. That was an athlete there, man. That was a great athlete. So baseball and football may have problems figuring out what to do about getting back into competition, but the PGA launched a successful return this past weekend with the Charles Schwab Challenge down in Fort Worth, Texas. It actually went into a playoff in which Daniel Berger won the tournament in a playoff over Colin Morikawa. Leaderboard had Justin Rose, Bryson DeChambeau, Xander Schauffele, Patrick Reed, Bubba Watson, Gary Woodland. It was a heck of a leaderboard. It was a heck of a tournament. Even Jordan Spieth made an appearance. Dustin Thomas, these guys were all sniffing around the leaderboard. Again, your winner, Daniel Berger. Over to you, Eddy Kool.
We had this conversation earlier. I was like, Daniel Berger, holla at your boy. Oh man, hey man, if I'm him, I'm trying to get some kind of endorsement deals. Hey, who wants a Daniel Berger burger? What's going on? Holla at your boy. All right, this day in history in 1995, Marlins outfielder Andre Dawson hits his 400th career home run. He finished his career with 492 home runs. Andre Dawson playing for the Marlins. At the time was,
The Hawk.
Yeah, the Hawk. Andre Dawson playing for the Marlins, which means hey man, I'm getting this check. I'm hitting this ball. I'm getting the hell up out of here. Yep, on the finish with 492 career home runs. Over to you, Scottie D.
All right. You know what? you may want to look this up, Eddie. This is a little interesting, but if I'm not mistaken, I think Andre Dawson won the MVP award of the National League. I want to say it was like 1988 for the Cubs, and they were in last place. That's just something you don't see really, is a guy be MVP on a team that's not a winner. But don't quote me on that. We might have to edit that out, but I think that might be just a little fun fact about Andre Dawson. Anyway,
it's worth looking up though.
It's worth looking up. Anyway, so we now have an agreement, a 2-fight deal between Tyson Fury and Anthony Joshua. They've agreed to fight twice. It looks like both fights will be in 2021. Before they get to that, both have mandatory title defenses. Both of them are believed to set up the fight. That we don't foresee them losing. Although we said that about Anthony Joshua before, and he ended up on his butt. But that with all the trouble going on in the world, we have a lot to look forward to. This just goes to that list. I hope that they're able to get this done. They've been talking about it. It's not set in stone yet. They're talking about a 50-50 split. That sounds encouraging, that they're not squabbling too much over who's going to get what share of the pot. We're not sure exactly yet where it's going to be, but it looks like Anthony Joshua is going to fight later this year. Tyson Fury either late this year or early next year, and then hopefully we get 2 fights between them two, and then possibly a Deontay Wilder Tyson Fury 3 late in 2021 or early 2022. But we've talked about this before about how boxing had seemed to be a dying sport, and the heavyweights, these guys are the ones we wanted to see. And it looks like we're starting to get to see these plans unfold and getting these fighters back in the ring. So hopefully we'll get to see those 2 fights in the near future. Over to you, Eddy Kool.
Yes, give us what we want. We want more boxing. We want the sweet science, the pugilism of boxing. All right, rounding out my pepper points, this day in history back in 1996, the Chicago Bulls win the 50th NBA championship, defeating the Seattle Supersonics 4-2. And that was the NBA's gold anniversary year, Scottie D, because you remember they had the gold logo on their jerseys.
Oh, yeah.
Yep, 1996, the Bulls win the championship, and they beat the Seattle Supersonics. And if you haven't seen The Last Dance, you probably went back to work. I understand it. But if you get some time, enjoy ESPN, the app, for free. The Last Dance of the Chicago Bulls. All right, Scottie D, over to you.
All right, my final pepper point of the week is just going to be a nice little story that I wanted to mention involving a local guy. Last week, Major League Baseball had their draft, and I think they only had 5 rounds as opposed to whatever 80 that they usually have. I don't know. They condensed it this year due to the coronavirus and all that stuff. And anyway, a young man by the name of Zach McCambley has been pitching for Coastal Carolina and was chosen in the 3rd round, 75th overall, by the Miami Marlins. That means he's going to meet Donnie Baseball and Derek Jeter. He's going to be part of that organization. I don't know Zach personally, but I do know his dad. His dad, Mike, is a really, really good guy. And so I am very happy for Zach McCambley and Mike and their family. Always nice to see somebody local, see their dreams come true. And I know they're very excited, and I'm very excited for them. So I just want to give a shout out to the McCambley family, and good luck in your Major League Baseball career, Zach. Hope you go out there and kill it, buddy.
Yeah, man. Good luck to you, Zach, man. Good luck to you, man. That feels good, man, knowing that you worked this hard and now you're in a position to financially make sure you're good, your family's good, and just pay your mom and daddy back, build her a nice house, and do all this good stuff, man. And that's what I would do, I can't speak for everybody, but I'm pretty sure Zach's a good kid from what you talk about. So nothing but the best of luck to you. And with that being said, that's another episode of the Sports Bros podcast. Once again, B-Live was unable to join us because he had to work. Which is fully understandable because, hey, man, you want nice things. You got bills. You got to do what you got to do to get what you got to have. Scottie D, I'm going to put down a T-shirt and trademark that.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, but anyways, with that being said, it's another episode. And Scottie D, where can they find you?
Well, you can find me on Facebook as always. That's where I'm hanging out these days. I'm trying to do my best to keep my mind sane in this world. Eddie, last week I was watching the Bottom Line on ESPN, and there was like one story that rolled through. It was about sports, and everything else was about all this other mess in the world, coronavirus, and the protesting and all that stuff. And that's why I like doing this with you and Be Live, because we have decided, we made a conscious decision a long time ago to stay away from that stuff. There's enough of that you can watch on CNN or Fox News or anywhere else. ESPN now is sucked into it too. So I'm just enjoying talking this stuff and keeping it light and getting our escape. And I wish there was more sports to watch, man. Wish we had more things to escape from. But that's why we're doing what we're continuing to do this, even though there's not a lot of sports to actually cover at this point, just because we like this stuff, man. We like the escape of getting away from all that heavy stuff of the world. So uh again, if you're a new listener, tell other people about it. Tell them, hey, listen to these guys. You're going to take a break from all this other political stuff that's going on in the world, and let's just enjoy keeping it light for a little while and having some sports talk and some talk about maybe cereal. Maybe next week we'll talk about cookies or potato chips. Who knows? But we're keeping it light here on the Sports Bros podcast. So thanks for checking us out, man. I really appreciate it.
Bratwurst, sausages, favorite hamburger toppings, favorite candy. Hey, the more sports goes on without, the more we gonna find something to talk about. Yes, Scotty, man, I agree with you, man. I'm telling you, man, like social media is crazy. The world is crazy, but let's just hope that after everything that the right decision is made by everybody and the powers that be to ensure that justice is served, and we just want a good outcome for everything and everybody involved. It's just a crazy time in the world right now, and I also enjoy this too, man, because it gives me a break to back away from the TV. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, man, I don't even turn my TV on. I don't even turn my TV on unless it's to watch, 30 for 30 or Monday Night Raw. Not saying that I don't care about the news, but between wrestling
It's
and sports,
depressing.
huh?
It's depressing.
It,
It raises anxiety. So
it is, man. I'm not gonna lie to you. I got a whole new therapist, and I got a whole new therapy session tomorrow, and I'm going to dump and unload. And I hope she's ready because it's been crazy. But as you said, Scotty D, like this is our escape. We come and talk about sports. I mean, this is what we do. Yeah, we made a decision. Hey, we're going to keep it as non-political as possible. We want everybody to come and check us out. Everybody come check us out. Come, get away from the world for a little bit because it's crazy, it's wild, it's nuts, and all we got to say is be careful and love one another from this point moving forward. As B Live said yesterday, we all got to do last week, we all have to do better. Scotty D, you are correct. The Chicago Cubs went 76 and 85, and they were last place in the then National League East.
interesting. And also, just to wrap one other thing up, Bruce Arians was a member of the Steelers coaching staff with Antonio Brown on the roster years ago. So, and he's already said, I don't think he'll be a fit in our locker room. So, the Bruce Arians is definitely saying no AB in Tampa. So maybe we'll catch him in Baltimore next year.
Probably. And you can catch me, Eddy Kool, the HOC, on all the Sports Bros related social media platforms. WordPress, Instagram, the Facebook like page, of course. Go ahead, blow that up. Check it out. We're almost close to 1,000 likes. You can check me out on Instagram, Cool Season, all one word. Also, if you're on Snapchat, that's right, Super Cool 5000. Ask me some sports questions, send me some stuff, and I'll talk about it because that's what I do. I love talking sports because we do this because we love it. All right, we're not looking for anything like just to be put up on a pedestal. Three guys talking sports. I'm just happy that Scotty D is no longer talking to his couches about sports.
Thank God for that.
Yeah, because when he first like, man, I'm tired of talking to sports, talking to my couch. I'm like, I gotta find us something to do. Find us something to do. And that's it for another episode of the Sports Bros podcast. Shout out to B Live for making that He making a bunch of it. Player, let me hold something. Nah, I'm joking, man. You got bills to pay and things to do. And
Miss you, buddy.
yeah, man, we miss you. We miss you. And in closing, do something nice for yourself. And if you can, do something nice for someone else. They'll greatly appreciate it, especially now more than ever. Let's love each other, be good to each other, do better, and move forward. This has been another episode of the Sports Bros Podcast.
Yes, sir.
Bye. Now I want a burger.